those who went through it realized that the first two things I talked about was the Anglophone crisis, and secondly, I talked about security issues, and third, we had women's rights. So, as I was saying, the Anglophone crisis must be resolved because the Anglophone crisis in itself has an impact on our existence as a nation. And I think that it's not the first time I'm mentioning it, that the Cameroonian state which we have today was formed by two states, and the decision to form this state from the two previous states, which were the Southern Cameroons and the French Cameroons, the decision took place on the 11th of February 1960. And it's very important for us to know that because on this day, Southern Cameroonians, through a referendum, voted to join the French Cameroons for several reasons, which I would like to state because it's also important to know. One of the reasons was that when you look at the past of Southern Cameroons, you are going to realize that Southern Cameroons faced some discrimination from Nigerians. And the first political party that was created in the Southern Cameroons was called the KNC. So KNC stands for Cameroon National Congress. So the question is, why do the founding fathers of Southern Cameroon decide to use the German Cameroon to create the political party? It means that their intention and their vision was that they should join the French Cameroon, who were their brothers. So they looked at their existence more in the form of the German Cameroon, which was that one big Cameroon. Yeah. The second thing probably was due to ethnic origins. And you know, in Cameroon, we have about 5 main ethnic groups. So the Semi-Bantus, we have the Semi-Bantus is the Bamoons, the Bamilekes, Yuket Cross, Lebi Alem, going to the northwest. Those are all Semi-Bantus. When you look at the Bantus, you're taking the Betis, you're taking the Sawas, the Bassas, the Bakres, getting crossed through Meme, then Kumba and the rest. And you are going to realize that there is some sort of ethnic unity between the two. So that's another reason why might be during that period the Southern Cameroons felt more attached to the French Cameroon. And the last reason was a reason of manipulation. You know, the UN and the other experts actually deceived the Southern Cameroons that they had no natural resources and that they were not going to cope if they had to stand on their own as a state. But we later on realized that that was not true. So actually, those were the things that actually led the Southern Cameroons to decide on the 11th of February 1960 to vote in favor of a one Cameroon, and a federal state was being formed on the 1st of October 1961. So actually, sorry, it was 11th of February 1961. Yes. 1961. So in 1961, we became a federal state. So during that period, we had no issues, because when I go back to history, I realized that from the 1st of October 1961 to I think May
20th of May
1972, no issues. Everything was perfect with the federal state and the rest. Might be where we have to head to resolve the Anglophone crisis. So let me go deep down into how I am going to resolve the Anglophone crisis. So the first thing is that I consider the Anglophone crisis to be an international conflict, because it all depends on how we look at the conflict and the importance we give to the conflict that will enable us to see if it's a priority and for us to resolve it immediately. So I say it's an international conflict because Southern Cameroon was a state, and I remember during the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Cameroon, President Paul Biya in 2011 said that Southern Cameroon was a state. So it was a state because it fulfilled all the criteria at the time to be a state according to the Montevideo Convention of 1933 that governs the existence of states. So Southern Cameroon had a government. Southern Cameroons had a population, it had a territory, and it was able to get involved in other relations with other states, and that's why it fulfilled all the criteria to become a state. And if then it was considered to be a state, then it means that there is an international component that comes into the crisis, and that if we don't consider this international component, then we cannot resolve the Anglophone crisis. So as it is being stated in section 33 of the UN Charter of 1945, the main method of dispute resolution being provided by the UN Charter, it is a pacific resolution of dispute settlements among two entities. And here we are talking about the Southern Cameroons, and we are talking about the French Cameroons. So what am I going to do precisely? We cannot resolve any conflict if we don't make use of the basic principles of law that governs our society today. So I am going to come up with a law which would be specific for the resolution of the Anglophone crisis. So in this law, we are going to have several components. The first component will be to make sure that there is a laying of foundation. So historians will have to explain to us every detailed information and fact in history, because if we don't know our history, if we don't know where we are coming from, then of course it will be very, very difficult for us to resolve this crisis, because everything is hidden in history. We know that the history we have today in Cameroon was written by those who had power at the time. I even discussed with some of my Francophone friends, and I realized that the history which was being taught to us Anglophones was not the same history that was being taught to them Francophones. And that's why you see this idea of assimilation, this idea of manipulation comes into place. And you know, the Anglophone man is someone who hates disrespect, hates discrimination, hates marginalization, and also hates manipulation. So we are going to understand and realize that the social contract, the state contracts between the two states was actually based on elements which rendered the contract void. Because if there was manipulation, if there was misrepresentation, if there was duress, that means force and violence to convince the other people to join the others by force, then we realize that that contract between the two states is actually a void contract. And if the contract is void, then what are we talking about? So these are things we'll have to correct, and that's why the first ingredient in that law would be to make sure that everybody understands the history of Cameroon, know the manipulations that took place, know the truth. And I strongly believe that is necessary for us to know the truth, because we cannot build a nation based on lies. We can only build a nation based on a very solid foundation of truth, and from there we'll be able to resolve the problem. So the first thing is to make sure that this foundation is being laid and that everybody understands how we got to the place we got here, if there were manipulations, and correct all of those things. Now the second thing I'm going to do is to make sure that all prisoners, all political prisoners, all separatist fighters being imprisoned here in Cameroon, that they should be set free. All separatist leaders that have been detained in foreign states, we are going to ask those foreign states to liberate them, and I'm going to do it through a presidential pardon. And I think presidential pardons are being provided and granted by our own constitution in Cameroon. A presidential pardon is not that I am saying that what they have done is correct, but I'm trying to say that we have to sit down as brothers, forgive ourselves, and then look for a way to move forward, so they will all be liberated. The third thing I'm going to do is to organize a proper mediation session. So I'm using mediation because when you look at Article 33 or Section 33 of the UN Charter of 1945 for pacific resolution of dispute mechanisms between states, you are going to realize that there are several forms of negotiations or several mechanisms that have been provided to resolve conflicts. And you can have negotiation, you can have arbitration, conciliation, and others. But then I choose mediation because mediation is the only mechanism through which both parties must come on the table as equals. You know, there is an issue today in Cameroon is that some people see themselves bigger than the others. We have a leadership today that is violating the constitution that provides equal rights for every Cameroonian, which is not what we see today. We see some people seeing themselves as bigger than others, which is something very wrong. And that's why I want to bring in a new sense of leadership, a leadership which is designed for service, not leaders who want people to serve them, but leaders who are supposed to serve the people. So the parties will come on the table as equal. I will not take part because I am born of an Anglophone parent and a Francophone parent. So I strongly believe that if it's only left to me, I'll prefer unity. But I have to give the chance for both parties to sit down, discuss, because they are brothers. You know, my mom always used to tell me something, that when you see two brothers arguing, never put your mouth in it. Because if you do, at the end of the day, you are going to become the enemy when they resolve the issues amongst them. So the two parties will sit on the table as equals and they will resolve the problem. Now the next thing I'm going to do, the fourth thing, is to make sure that all the consequences that were being faced by individuals in the southwest and northwest regions due to the crisis should be repaired. Military men who have lost their lives and rendered so many women widows and orphans, will take care of them. Businesses that were being lost, we are going to see how we shall give subventions to businessmen who actually went crumbled economically due to the Anglophone crisis. We are going to construct roads, construct buildings that were being destroyed by the Anglophone crisis. We are going to restore all those who have been internally displaced, be it in the different Francophone regions or be it refugees in Nigeria. We are going to make sure that they come back, help them rebuild their houses and help them reintegrate back into the society. For the children who have not received their education appropriately, we shall organize special courses for them to be able to catch up. Health-wise and social-wise, we shall bring all those things together and organize them. The next thing I am going to do, the fifth thing I'm going to do, of course, is I'm already at the end, is obviously to make sure that there is a special course that would help Cameroonians to know what is going on, like to know the history, to know why we got here, so that next time it should not repeat itself. So children will have special courses on history so that this type of thing doesn't repeat itself any longer. And lastly, we shall be talking about a National Reconciliation Day, because let me tell you, the state has failed in educating its population, assuring that anthropological studies are being done so that people could understand themselves. You know, it is usually said that if you go to Rome, do what the Romans do. But the problem is that we have certain Cameroonians who want to go to other places and do things the way they do things in their villages, which is wrong. You cannot come to my house and you want to do things the way you do things in your house. Respect that. And that is what we are talking about. Okay. So the nation and the people have to sit together, dialogue together, discuss as one, forgive themselves and understand themselves, because it's very important. You know, there are things when I'm with my French friends, and I tell them and I know will not hurt them, and I know the things I can tell them to hurt them. The same thing when I'm with my Anglophone friends, I know what I can say to hurt them and the rest. So those are the things that we have to put together, understand ourselves, so that peace can reign in Cameroon. So that's what I'm going to do to resolve the Anglophone crisis. Now, when we look at the security issues, it's not only about Boko Haram. Very briefly. Yeah, very brief. Not only Boko Haram and the Seleka fighters, but we also have insecurity in our towns, our major towns, with the microbe phenomenon, with people stealing and the rest, with violence, political violence, which we are seeing today. The other day, we had Elimbi Lobe's wife who was being attacked because Elimbi Lobe had made a particular declaration. We had the Minister of Youth who was being attacked in Belgium. So we have a serious problem with insecurity and violence. So how is this going to be resolved? The first thing is that, first of all, my political ideology is communism. And in communism, we are looking to assure equal rights for all Cameroonians. And to do that, security is a major human right. So I'm going to make sure that I'll increase the personnel of the military. I'm going to make sure that they are well paid. I'm going to make sure that they have the required equipment so that they can carry out their roles appropriately to secure our borders, to secure our people eternally. Thank you.
Good morning, Jarvis, and our presidential aspirant candidates in the studio is assessing the readiness of the independent candidate aspirants. I can say they are ready, but it is the citizens, but is it the citizens, especially the youth, who are not ready? Because most Cameroonian citizens are always bold to say the government owes her citizens no responsibility, and that the youth should stop complaining and engage themselves in agriculture, thereby encouraging the government to shy away from her responsibility. Most Cameroonians are not registering because they don't want to vote for those who will not take care of them. And I think this discredits the opposition leaders when we ask them what package do they have for the youth, knowing fully well that the government, even the new ones coming to power, owes the youth no responsibility. Interestingly, we need to be united, peacefully educate the masses why we want them to vote. This is Valentine. This one, right, it says, my question goes to Madame Carol. I want her to explain to me how she's going to invest more in the agricultural sector, because we have a major problem in the agricultural sector. Most of the things we eat, we buy them, and some of our products we cannot sell in Cameroon supermarket. This is terrible. We only get to see French product being sold in supermarket, and sometimes it takes connection to have your product being placed on supermarket. Yet our local markets are not being encouraged. That one was for you. I
wanted to say that next time is one-on-one is better, because to enable candidate to really expand shit, you know. Okay, that was a nice question. I think the manifesto, I said this. The FMI put a structure in place to weaken the agriculture in Cameroon, in Africa, to be able to say their investors, once they invest, whatever you invest, you have to come up with your benefits, and it's profiting them that invest and have a control on the agriculture. What I'm putting in place is an agriculture based on the state investing in agriculture, the farmers working, the state buys them back, and the state puts them in the market, what we call international market. What we call international market. The prices are made by the international system, the international president, while we are the one working in our farms, struggling, sweating, but they are the one pricing our goods. So what I'm putting in place is that there's going to be a committee all around the nation that will register all the farmers, or all those who aspire to be farmers, that will have lands. Those who do not have lands will be given lands, and there's going to be a policy. We will not make agriculture in Cameroon just for making sake. We will target the agriculture that will step Cameroon among the 5 first countries in the products. Okay, we are going to transform it in the country and put it in the country here to sell. So whoever wants to buy should come and buy from the committee, not from the farmers. Because when they come to buy from you, you sell it cheap because you want money. But what we are going to buy because we want to increase our economy and our incomes as a country. That's the first thing. The second thing is that I'm not waiting to sit there. Now we are talking with most of the farmers. I'm coming from the West region, where we signed a big convention with some chiefs and some businessmen, to ensure that as from next year, beginning of next year, next month, we are going to train the masses on how to make industrial agriculture. Like for now, we don't have machines, but we agree that if you are 100 youths, you can handle a particular length of hectares. That will enable you to have how do you call it, market on grounds. You'll be able to market it now. Let's see into it before we bring in machines and all the like. This is the capacity we can make with our hands, because bringing in machine meaning you're still going to buy.
Yes.
And if you're still going to buy, you're still sending money there. But if we start working with our hand like in those days, let's now give money to our boys within the country, because we went to Douala. There are some big guys that are doing machine, though it's not too powerful because they don't have subventions. We can now give them subventions to make good machines that will facilitate the agriculture, so that in the next 5 years we may come up with a company that enables Cameroonians to have their own machine
Yeah.
made by Cameroonians to ensure we have industrial agriculture. Because to say no, we can go and buy machine, it's good, but it's still sending money out. We can ship in youths, making money out of our hands, ensuring a length of time where the youths that are already into engineering will sit down and see into it how to enforce and reinforce the machine that we have. So no farmers will not think, how do I sponsor my farm? How do I sell it when it's done? Because the state is going to sponsor you, buy it from you, and take it right from the farm to the different posts where the goods will be sold. Now the transformation part is that we are going to transform and put in our commercial, our boutiques, this alimentation as they call, as they say, and from there now there's going to be a law. Let me put it that way. It's going to be a law of consuming local, at least for our own goods and for our own betterment. Because what we see out is that many Cameroonians are still blind fooled by, I'm eating from abroad, I'm dressed from abroad. You dress from abroad, me dressing from here, there's no make difference. We all close our nakedness, okay? Nobody knows the cost of your dress except you and the boutique. So that mentality should change. I am dressed with 200,000. You are dressed with 1,000. We all have covered our nakedness. So you are the one that knows your dress is 200,000 francs. And this mentality should leave Cameroonians. Because we have made in Cameroon, but it's not even advertised by the state. That's first thing. By the own Cameroonians. You see somebody going to buy butter in the boutique because it's made in France, made in whatever, although we are making butter already in Cameroon. So there's going to be education of masses to accept that at a given time we need to assume that we are a country, sovereign country for that matter, and we need to start from zero to grow and increase to the rate we want.
This was a good afternoon to you on the studio. I beg to differ with Madam Carol. Her approach is not acknowledging that our official linguistic differences, not seeing Cameroon from its colonial differences, is not good. You are talking about that you are not seeing Cameroon from a different colonial heritage to them is not good.
What is funny is that we don't have a colonial heritage. Okay, if we have, it's a poison to us. If we are not ready to see into it, then we are not ready to change this fact. Before, let's ask ourselves the question: before the English people came, or the German came, and the French came, how were we living? How were we living? We were living with our dialect and our culture. English is not a culture, it's a language. If it's a culture, it's a culture of those who have English as their culture. English is a language or it's not a culture. So if you say that our English culture is that we are this, then it's already a problem.
Will you blame these people, Madam, who are talking about this fact? We blame them because we have not had books, history books telling us how we were before the colonial masters.
No, we have studied history. We know where we were before the colonial masters.
Because we have not had, probably, I did not see the detail, maybe in your era, but in my era, we did not, the history that we had was just German Cameroon.
That is it, that's what I'm saying.
Tell us how we were before the Germans,
yes,
how the people were before this, because it would have actually given us the context to know that, okay, we are these people, let's look at, because most of our history now being taught in these generations now is more of about the arrival of the Germans, how the Germans did, how the French.
Yeah, that's the history they want us to have.
Yes.
But that's not our history.
Yes, the original history of our country.
Now, since the original history is not at hand now, and we are not even sure it is, except the people that lived into it can tell you that this is how we're living, this is how we're functioning. I went to the western part of the region because I was going there to see a lady that is 97 years old. Maybe if we're sharing the picture, you could see her. Those are the people who need to listen. Forget about this history we are studying in school. That's not our history. This is a West-made history, to make sure we still keep into our minds that we are Anglophones. We still keep in our minds that we are Francophones. But they will tell you that as they were living, this Nigerian part of Cameroon, as they claim, as they say, yes, they had another reality they were living there. Is that Nigeria was not seeing them as Nigerians. They were strangers. So it was more easy for them to cleave to their native brothers than to remain into slavery. That's the same thing that happened with the Doualas and the Bassas. The Bassas are the original occupants of the littoral. But when the Douala came, and since they said They were dirty people, and they could not mingle with them. They started going away to look for places. When they realized that their lands were occupied, they wanted to come in back. Problem started. So what I'm saying here, my brother or my sister, I don't know who is writing, the point is not to go back and study what is not helping us at hand. We have a serious problem at hand. There's no time, and there's going to be a lot of money spending into that. Let me rest assured. And that money we don't have. Okay. Now, what we can do right now is to settle the cost, as you said. We have common problems. Yes. No water, no food, no school, electricity, healthcare, proper healthcare, security, defense, unemployment. If we solve that, we don't need to go back to an history where we have no tools to say this is how we were living. One thing I'm sure of is that the English part of Cameroon that was linked to Nigeria were slaves. They were killed and they were slaves into that part. They know it, at least the people that live there know it, like the mother was saying. So when they joined Cameroon, as my co-candidate said, they feel at ease at a given moment. But since colonialism knew this is going to be a force, so they saw a seed of I am Anglophone and Francophone, and this is killing us today. We should not cleave on that. It's not going to help us. Let's handle the common problem of Cameroonians. As I said, create a congress, bring all the ethnical groups in the parliamentary hall, let them share their view, propose by themselves. So I'm expecting you, Mr. I don't know who wrote, I'm expecting you there to be one of the people that will represent. Did not mention the name. Okay, your ethnic. Sit there and let's have a talk. From there, let's write back our history. Because whatever we are putting into history, we have no proofs, legal proof to say that this is how we're living, as you said. But those who were living in those days will tell you that they were not better off there than here. But manipulation of the colonialism with our state that is too weak or not too ready to live and train us properly are using this distraction and division to eat more than us with all the riches we have.
Now you were about to talk about the health sector.
For me, the health sector of Cameroon should be like the same healthcare of India. They have no pharmacy in India. In Philippines, no pharmacy, and they've never heard that somebody died of stroke or died or whatever. Like, they want to make us believe that if there's no pharmacy, you will not live correctly. So my program is to invest more in our traditional health products, make sure we have good engines or good tools to enable those guys to bring us good medication to solve our issue. Then the 30% for now, because Cameroonian is not trained to cut off very easily, and we are not out here to make problem with our let me say our friendly countries like France and USA. No, we're just trying to develop ourselves like they did. So we cannot develop ourselves until we use what is ours to feed. If we continue to buy from them, we are not going to develop ourselves. And they stand to bear with me that I'm right. How many drugs, medication France has brought to Cameroon to make sure their healthcare is correct, or USA? So they don't buy, they create. They should allow us to innovate, create, and make sure our health is handled by Cameroonians to help Cameroonians. Now, till the time we are ready to cut off totally with the pharmacy, let's see into it that 70% is given to our medical and traditional doctors to put yourself into work to bring us good products that will be used here and sell out, increase our economy, and ensure we have good and perfect health assistance.
Barrister, you want to react on the issue of healthcare?
As for me, healthcare is a priority. Healthcare is a priority because, you know, health is a human right, and it has to be accessible to all Cameroonians. So what have I planned? My healthcare program is called a Communist National Healthcare Program. So why a Communist National Healthcare Program? It is because in communism, one of the fundamental principles of communism is that healthcare is free, and also education is free. You realize that in most communist countries, those two things are free. So of course, I want to make sure that healthcare should be accessible to every Cameroonian, be it those in the big towns like Douala, or those who are in Kusiri or Poli, or maybe any other place where it's very, very difficult to have access to healthcare. So I want to make sure that Cameroonians receive the best of healthcare and from well-trained professionals who are well paid. So we know today that the issues we have with our healthcare system is that when you look at human resources, we have the personnel, we have the technical facilities, and we have financing. So when we are going to start with financing, the main issue with the financing of our healthcare system is that it is extremely low. So we just have today a 3.6% financing of our national budget for healthcare. So I'm going to increase the budget of health from 3.6 to 15%. Of course, the goal is that, first of all, we should be able to respect the Convention of Abuja of 2001, which Cameroon ratified, which provides that each member state of the Abuja Convention should have at least 15% of its national budget attributed to health. So today we just have 3.6. So we must go up to 15%. So if we are getting at to 15% of our national health budget, then of course we would obviously be at about 1,000 billion. We know that the cost of treatment, the cost of healthcare in Cameroon is about 900 billion. 70% is being paid by household, 15% is being paid by the state, and 14% comes from partners. We must remember that President Donald Trump has cut off subventions for health services which were being provided in certain areas in Cameroon, such as the fight against communicable diseases like HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis. So these are things that we will have to take care of them ourselves, and to do that we must increase our budget. So the first thing will be to increase the budget to make sure that there's sufficient resources for healthcare, and that is going to permit us to be able to provide free healthcare to all our citizens, to pay our health workers appropriate salaries that will be befitting for them, and that will help them feel fulfilled and do their work appropriately, because they are extremely poorly paid. And more to that, we are going to make sure that all the different drugs and areas which were left out, treatment can be provided. The next thing is about the personnel. In Cameroon today, we are going to realize that we just have about 12 personnel for a population of 10,000 people, whereas the World Health Organization warrants that there should be at least 23 healthcare professionals for a population of 10,000 people. That's approximately one medical doctor for a population of 1,000 people. But we are today at about 1 to 2 medical doctors for 10,000 people. So we have a serious deficit in the number of healthcare workers. So I'm going to make sure that this the number of healthcare workers can be increased to meet up with the WHO standards. And why do I want to do that? It's because I want to put in place in this communist healthcare system a mechanism of prevention. We all know that if, for example, today you get sick of malaria, if it is not severe, you'll be using about 2,000, 3,000 to treat it, because you are going to buy tablets. But if it gets severe, you need hospitalization, you need drips, it will cost you about 30,000 to 40,000. So what is my goal? My goal is to be able to cut down on expenses to treat certain diseases, and to do that I must put in place a very active preventive mechanism. Primary healthcare, which is based on vaccination; secondary healthcare, which is based on sensitization, promotion of good health, and also make sure that each family, each quarter has a doctor, has a family doctor that is going to do regular checkups, that is going to assist the population and make sure that they don't get sick, and it was going to help us to cut down on our health expenses. So the next thing and the last thing I'm going to make sure is to have technical facilities, appropriate technical facilities and infrastructures, have the required equipment, get them ready, build more health centers in every angle in Cameroon to make sure that healthcare is accessible. And with that, I think that we shall be able to use health to develop our country, because health is a major sector of development.
We want to apologize for the fact that we had issues with the power here in the studio. That's why good amount of time that we were to discuss was actually wasted by electricity. I've received indication that there's a major program that will be coming up. So unfortunately, as Madam Carol said, we have to look at this issue probably on a one-on-one basis that we can give much time to actually look at these issues. But Madam Carol, thank you for coming. Your last word before we go to the voters.
Thank you for the last word. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the program. Thank you for the viewers that wanted to participate in this. It's quite encouraging. We need you to get very concentrated, focused, and serious about this thing. It's our destiny we are playing here in 2025. So you should not be distracted by anything. Get focused. Keep on asking questions. Because keep on making sure you see into it that some of us political leaders or independent candidate, we are bringing out the best for you. But much more, go register, encourage people to register, go vote and secure your vote.
Well, thank you very much, Barrister, for coming.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Tah Jarvis. Thank you to the whole technical staff of My Media Prime TV. Thank you to all our viewers. The word I would like to say to all Cameroonians is that the responsibility that the people have towards the state is vital, and that responsibility is for the population, all those above 20 years old, to go and get registered on the electoral register. We are very grateful for your interest in politics, and please keep up. Have a nice day.
And of course, happy birthday to you, Myra, in the United States of America, the daughter of Mr. Nyam Robert, and the entire family. Happy birthday to your daughter, Myra, who is at 10. Many more years to you. May God continue to guide and protect you as you celebrate it. We apologize for the fact that we do not have much time because of the power issues here in the studio, front and back. Hopefully, anytime we shall be looking at this on a one-on-one basis. This program will be rebroadcast at 10:30 p.m. Rebroadcast 10:30 p.m. You can follow the rebroadcast. You can follow us on TikTok and YouTube channel, BT Media, Guma Media, Prime Television. Until we meet again, no matter the matter, what matters is your matter. What should matter for you is that you should stay out of trouble. My name is Tah Mai Jarvis, Cameroon's commercial capital, Douala. Thank you, John Bange. Au revoir.